I initially encountered Ramona during my college years. At that time, she had a robust build, large glasses, and struggled with skin issues. Her major was in art, and her fashion sense was unconventional, reflecting her unique style. Regrettably, her distinctive flair didn't resonate as attractive or appealing to most guys, myself included. Despite pursuing different majors, she in art and myself in production technology, we found ourselves enrolled in the same computer graphics design classes due to shared program requirements. She needed the class for her diploma, while I required it as a prerequisite for AutoKD. Assigned to collaborate on a group project, we realized we hadn't interacted much before, despite sharing some classes. Right from the outset, it was evident we were almost polar opposites. While I frequented the track and hovered around the popular crowd, Ramona smoked and gravitated towards the fringe of the avant-garde, the beatniks, and the artistic circles. My dating circle mainly consisted of level 2 cheerleaders and jocks, whereas Ramona was often relegated to the role of the larger friend or the second-choice girlfriend among the more conventionally beautiful or promiscuous art students. While working on our project, we found ourselves spending a considerable amount of time together. Human nature compelled me to glance at her, prompting her, I assume, to reciprocate. One evening, our conversation extended beyond project matters and delved into more personal topics. When my next girlfriend arrived to pick me up, I felt a twinge of sadness at leaving Ramona, and it seemed she felt similarly. The following day, in computer class, Ramona exhibited a frosty demeanor towards me. "What did I do now?" I inquired. "You're an absolute idiot," she retorted, her voice verging on tears. Sensing the need for privacy, I took her hand and ushered her out of the lab to a nearby park bench. After fetching refreshments, we resumed our discussion in a more comfortable setting, free from any potential disruptions. "Why do you think I'm a prick?" I queried with a smile. "Because you are," she replied, wiping away tears. "Despite lacking an artistic soul, I had hoped you were different," she added. As our conversation progressed, I reflected on her words. "And then you with that woman," she interjected. "Are you upset I went on a date?" I asked incredulously. "No way," she snapped. "It's just that you're all the same. You're not interested in a meaningful connection with a woman who genuinely cares for you and loves you. You just want superficial relations with some buxom girl." "Without intelligence," she remarked sharply. "Well," I responded calmly, "well-endowed women have the intelligence to leverage their assets, whether in dating, relationships, or simply in matters of closeness." She regarded me skeptically and inquired, "What exactly are you implying?" Irritated, I retorted, "They communicate. They take actions to express their interest to the guy." She remained speechless, her fists clenched in frustration, visibly seething with anger. It seemed as if steam would soon billow from her ears, prompting me to seek clarity and understand where we stood. With a decisive gesture, I reached over and removed her cumbersome glasses, recognizing they obstructed her beauty. Then I kissed her, not a mere peck, but a fervent, passionate embrace. Later, I learned it was her first kiss with a non-relative. That initial kiss led to more carnal ones as she relaxed, parting her lips, and our tongues intertwined in a sensual dance. Embracing her tightly, we shared lingering kisses on a park bench. The ensuing weeks were a whirlwind of activity. We completed our project, earning an A, and embarked on a romantic relationship. Ramona opted for contact lenses, visited a dermatologist, and adopted a slightly more conventional wardrobe. I never requested she abandon her bohemian style, but as our outings became more frequent, she required additional attire. You know how women are. She invited me to accompany her on a shopping trip and sought my opinion. I noted that jeans were a popular choice, even among artists. However, she expressed feeling too large for pants. I reassured her, praising her curves and likening her to the voluptuous models depicted by the artist Rubens. Encouraged, she purchased jeans and looked fantastic in them. Yet I suggested her tops and sweatshirts didn't quite complement her jeans or skirts. She accused me of only being interested in her chest. I jokingly admitted she was right, but emphasized they were mine, and she wore them for my benefit. Being carnal with Ramona felt akin to being with a fairy tale princess. Though not wild, it held a special quality. As her first partner, I endeavored to make it enjoyable and memorable for her. Over time, her interest in closeness grew, and she even began to request it. While we never delved into extreme kinks, I cherished every moment because of my deep love for her. Some weeks later, she gazed at her reflection and remarked feeling like a larger version of the type of woman she despised. I reassured her, affirming she was my girlfriend regardless of appearances. We found immense happiness together and eventually became engaged. Following graduation, I pursued a career at an automotive design firm, while Ramona found her calling doing layouts for an art magazine. My family adored Ramona and embraced her warmly. On the other hand, Ramona's family was limited to her mom and sister, to say the least. I didn't particularly care for them. Once, at our engagement celebration, I overheard her sister suggesting to someone that I was too conventional and might stifle Ramona's artistic vision. Despite Ramona appearing radiant and joyous, her mom whispered to her sister that she believed our marriage was due to a pregnancy and wouldn't last. However, over time, we proved them both wrong. We were deeply content and genuinely loved each other. At our 7th anniversary gathering, her mom began hinting about becoming a grandmother. Since Ramona and I were her only hope for grandchildren, as her sister was unable, Ramona quickly assured her we were trying. Despite our efforts over several years, we faced disappointment. Ramona's mom, Maddie, took it upon herself to schedule us appointments at a fertility clinic, seemingly presuming the issue was with me. I attended the appointment, underwent tests, and provided samples, only to discover everything was normal on my end. Maddie, upon hearing the news, humorously suggested we practice more until our work was finished so she could become a grandmother while still young. However, Ramona's results painted a different picture, altering our lives indefinitely. We learned she had various reproductive health issues, making conceiving naturally extremely unlikely, if not improbable. That evening, I held her tightly as she wept herself to sleep. I reassured her that adoption or exploring available treatments were viable options for us. Deep down, I harbored resentment towards her mother for escalating the situation to such an extent. Tearfully, she told me, "If you want a divorce, you can have it. I'll never leave you unless you push me away." Addressing Ramona, I relayed her mother's accusation that she might cheat on me to conceive. "I'll never betray you, Mona. You mean everything to me," I assured her. Meeting her gaze, she questioned, "Why stay with a woman who's unable to have children?" Ensuring she caught every nuance of my sincerity, I replied, "Because I love you more than anything in this world, and losing you would devastate me." She seemed to calm down a bit and eventually drifted off to sleep. But honestly, those days are now a blur, and I struggled to recall all the details. 2 days later, we received a call from the clinic summoning us for an appointment. During the consultation, the doctor revealed she had referred Ramona's tests to a specialist. Our shock intensified upon discovering Ramona was battling an aggressive form of cancer in its early stages. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. This explained her constant fatigue at 25, the unexplained body soreness, and frequent mood swings and irritability. The revelation terrified me. Fortunately, we caught it early enough to have a favorable prognosis for her recovery. The doctor directed us to a specialized oncology center and arranged an appointment for the following day. Ramona underwent an extensive battery of tests, marking the beginning of her challenging journey. I took a leave of absence and remained by Ramona's side throughout her ordeal. I stayed beside her during every test, offering support and encouragement as we awaited results. In the following weeks, Ramona underwent lymph node surgery and commenced radiation therapy. I occupied the family suite at the cancer center to be close to her. I greeted her each morning, stayed by her side all day, and even obtained permission to stay overnight until she drifted off to sleep. Occasionally, her mother and sister visited, displaying a chilly demeanor towards me, perhaps harboring the misguided notion that I was somehow responsible for Ramona's illness. However, the radiation therapy proved ineffective and began injuring healthy tissue alongside the tumors. Consequently, we opted for chemotherapy. Ramona experienced a significant weight loss due to radiation, and chemotherapy threatened to cause hair loss. The hospital nurses were incredibly supportive, often going beyond their duties to assist me in caring for Ramona. One nurse, Kelly, was particularly invaluable. With her striking red hair, green eyes, and tall, slender frame, she exuded warmth and kindness. Each morning, Kelly greeted me with a smile or a joke, offering a comforting embrace or a listening ear whenever I needed it most, helping me maintain a positive outlook. The majority of nurses in the oncology unit had shifts lasting 10 hours with 3 days off. However, Kelly worked from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. She was present when I left Ramona at night and also when I returned at 6 a.m. the next day. In my experience, she was consistently cheerful, particularly in my presence. The only instance I recall her becoming upset was during a conversation with Ramona's mother, Maddie. Maddie remarked that I might likely leave her daughter now that she was sick. Kelly reacted fiercely, threatening to physically intervene. "This environment is utterly disheartening. Kelly expressed. A large number of our patients receive minimal visitors, as their loved ones are hesitant to visit due to concerns of contagion, she elaborated. She emphasized my constant presence and support for Ramona during difficult times, holding the vomit bucket and assisting her to the restroom. Were you here? She asked pointedly, acknowledging my dedication. He assists her when she needs to use the restroom, Kelly commented. Were you around when she experienced hair loss? He shaved his head to match hers, she chuckled, recalling his shiny scalp. Were you present during that time? She inquired with irritation. He administers sponge baths to help her maintain dignity, she noted. Were you present then? She questioned again. He has devoted all his vacation and sick leave to her. Her health insurance doesn't cover the treatment, so he's deeply in debt for your daughter, she asserted. And throughout it all, he has been by her side every single day, holding her hand and reassuring her of his love, she snapped, pointing a finger at Maddie's face. I wish I had witnessed it myself, but hearing about it later brought a slight smile to my face. But what truly mattered to me was Ramona's well-being. Several nurses shared the incident with me, all equally enraged at Maddie. I noticed Maddie became noticeably less aloof towards me afterward. In fact, she even reached out and patted me on the shoulder as I held Ramona's hand during her afternoon nap. The chemotherapy took a toll on Ramona, leaving her weakened but cancer-free. Her hair began to grow back, and we adopted a new diet to help her regain strength. She underwent multiple plastic surgeries to remove excess skin from her weight loss. Ramona emerged as a new woman, 80 pounds lighter with clear skin, contact lenses replacing her glasses, and her hair restored. People who knew her couldn't help but take a second glance. Though not as striking as Kelly, she was the best version of herself, and my love for her remained unwavering. I returned to work, putting in extra hours to cover the medical expenses we incurred. Ramona couldn't work for a while. Our bed life, always fulfilling, intensified as Ramona expressed gratitude for my support during her illness. She began casually dating women from her previous job while I was at work. It seemed like a way for her to socialize more, as she was never very outgoing apart from me. Perhaps it was a form of post-cancer affirmation, though I didn't take it too seriously. Unbeknownst to me, my marriage was in jeopardy. Over the following weeks, Ramona started returning home later and often appeared intoxicated. I've never had so much fun, she remarked. I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt, working 12 to 16-hour days to cover her medical expenses while she enjoyed herself without me. Her attire became increasingly revealing, prompting my inquiry. She explained she wanted to flaunt her newfound body, claiming it was just for fun. I couldn't help but wonder when it became necessary for her to seek validation from others. During that time, I pondered our marriage, sensing something was amiss. Despite my apprehensions, I hesitated to confront the truth, as Ramona had become my entire world. Our shared experiences, particularly battling cancer, had deepened our bond significantly. Unbeknownst to me, my dedication had caught the attention of my company's owners, resulting in a substantial raise, promotion, and bonus. I saw this as an opportunity to plan a vacation with Ramona, hoping it would rekindle our relationship. Rather than immediately sharing the good news with Ramona, I decided to surprise her with a small family celebration for her upcoming birthday, hoping to discuss the idea of relocating together to rejuvenate our marriage. However, events unfolded differently, shattering my heart and our marriage. During a routine checkup at the hospital, Ramona encountered Kelly, whom she never liked due to her beauty and perceived threat. That overweight woman. Even with Ramona's weight loss, she felt inferior to Kelly standing beside her. "Hey, Ramona," Kelly greeted. "It's strange seeing you without your lovely husband," she remarked. "What do you mean? I'm not without him," Ramona clarified. "He's just at work. And why are you asking about him anyway?" "I didn't mean anything by it. You're simply fortunate to have someone who loves you so deeply," Kelly assured her. "Most guys out there are only interested in their own pleasure and eventually drift away. If only someone looked at me the way your husband looks at you," Kelly began, before being cut off. "It doesn't matter," Ramona interjected. Aware that I would be occupied with work all day again, Ramona sought solace in returning to the bar she had visited the previous night. She could probably enjoy a drink and be back home before I arrived. Upon entering the bar, Ramona was greeted by someone's embrace. "Oh my God, Ramona, it's been ages!" exclaimed Kathleen Kinnison, one of Ramona's former college acquaintances. "What's been going on with you lately? You've lost quite a bit of weight." "I almost didn't recognize you," remarked Kathleen. "How's your husband doing?" she inquired. "Hey, Kat," Ramona responded. "Just hanging out and having a good time." They approached a table and were soon joined by a group of men. Ramona got up to dance with one of them, becoming so engrossed that she failed to notice the door opening. Everyone in the bar noticed when Kelly walked in. Ramona was too absorbed in dancing to notice her, but Kelly observed her actions and companions. Kelly ordered a sandwich from the grill, returning to work with a newfound idea. In the following days, I maintained my usual workload while also planning Ramona's surprise party. I invited her mother, sister, and several friends, purchased gifts, and hoped the celebration and trip would rekindle our relationship. I was pleasantly surprised when my mother-in-law offered to assist me with decorating the apartment for the party. During Ramona's hospitalization, we grew closer, and while she may not have harbored romantic feelings for me, she respected my love for her daughter and accepted me. Over the subsequent days, I noticed a recurring pattern. Ramona consistently left and returned home late, and our once vibrant bed life dwindled. It was difficult to recall the last time we had been carnal. Women persistently bothered me as if they sensed my need for relief. One evening upon returning from work, the phone rang. "Hey, Brad, it's Kelly," she said. "Hi, Kelly. Any news on Ramona's test results?" I inquired. "Not until tomorrow, but there's something important I need to discuss with you," she said urgently. "Could we meet somewhere? It won't take long." "How about the park across from the hospital?" I suggested. Kelly considered it and agreed. "I can be there in 20 minutes if that works for you. See you there," I confirmed. Kelly believed the park was an ideal meeting spot. During Ramona's hospitalization, she and Brad frequented it to lift his spirits, sharing impromptu dinners while Ramona underwent procedures he couldn't attend. It held happy memories for them, and Kelly didn't want to taint that. Sitting on a small bench in the park beside Kelly, I greeted her with a smile. "Am I behind on payments? Is Ramona sick again?" I inquired. "Yes, she's unwell, but it's not cancer," Kelly revealed. In the ensuing minutes, Kelly recounted the places she had spotted my wife recently, detailing her actions and company. "I don't have evidence, but it seems she's being unfaithful," she disclosed. "Kelly, you're a great nurse, and I thought you were a good person too. Ramona would never do that." "She loves me," I asserted, though my conviction wavered. "I'm sorry to have to say this, but you need to be cautious," Kelly advised. "I can't believe she'd betray you like this," I retorted. "You're basing this on vague suspicions, no evidence. Perhaps it's best for you to focus on your own affairs." I rose to depart, but Kelly seized my hand. Gently, she lifted her hand and grazed my cheek. I found myself frozen in place, my anger dissipating. "I hope I'm mistaken for your sake," Kelly murmured softly. "It pains me to think you're enduring such agony for someone who isn't worth it." Her touch sent a shiver down my spine. "I'll be there for you when you need a friend," she assured, slipping a business card into my hand before leaving. I tucked the card into my pocket, watching as Kelly walked away. It had been a while since Ramona and I had been carnal, yet watching Kelly walk away, I felt a surge of desire. Everything unfolded better than expected. Kelly believed that if Brad discovered the truth too late, the pain would be worse. It was preferable to endure a few small blows rather than one devastating blow. Though she would never intentionally damage Brad, he needed to know about his unfaithful wife. Kelly couldn't pinpoint when her feelings for Brad had blossomed. It no longer mattered. Perhaps it was during those moments when she witnessed his unwavering dedication, whether caring for Ramona or enduring her dismissive treatment after she started to recover, treating him more like a servant than a devoted husband who had sacrificed everything to be by her side for months. Kelly was aware of her beauty, a fact reiterated throughout her life. Despite her history with numerous men, none had bestowed upon her the same love and tenderness Brad showered upon Ramona. She couldn't fathom anything she wouldn't sacrifice to have such affection in her life. She felt prepared for the next phase of her plan. Returning home 2 nights later, I felt a surge of anticipation. The modest party was intended to ignite the romantic spark with Ramona anew. As I paid closer attention to our interactions in recent days, I noticed her growing distance and increased drinks consumption. As I eventually drifted off to sleep, she had yet to return. Upon awakening, she was already asleep beside me, smiling as she rolled over. Despite knowing she was likely out drinking and partying, it was quintessentially Ramona. Initially averse to parties when we first met, she now sought to explore experiences she had once shunned, perhaps as a celebration of her triumph over cancer. While I simply wished for her to celebrate alongside me, I couldn't shake the feeling of my own selfishness. At 6:30, Ramona's mother, Maddie, arrived with her second daughter, Ravana. They swiftly began decorating the house, aware that Ramona could arrive at any moment. Only 6 individuals were invited as I aimed for a cozy gathering with close friends. By 9 p.m., guests were already wondering about Ramona's absence, prompting some to leave their gifts and depart. By 11 p.m., only Maddie, Ravana, and I remained. I made a 4th attempt to reach Ramona on her cell phone. She returned the call half an hour later. "Hey, love, I'll be heading home soon." Ramona's voice sounded breathless and intoxicated. "Where are you?" I inquired. Mom suggested grabbing a drink, and I opted to join her rather than returning home. "We lost track of time," she explained. "I ended up tagging along with her and my disagreeable sister because they still harbor some dislike toward you, and I didn't want their negativity to spoil whatever surprise you had planned," she added. In the background, a male voice urged her to return promptly for some fun. "We'll reunite soon, and you can unveil your surprise," she reassured. "Is it a big surprise?" she queried. "Somewhat," I responded softly. For a while, silence lingered. Then Maddie turned her gaze toward me, noticing my struggle to hold back tears. I felt stunned, as if my world had crumbled, unsure of how to react. "That's not entirely accurate," Maddie began. "Initially, I may have had doubts about your suitability for Ramona, but my perspective has shifted," she continued. "What a nerve," Ravana interjected. "Thank you both for coming," I said, composing myself. "I'll tidy up and stow away Ramona's gifts," I assured them. "She'll likely return soon. You're welcome to stay, though I'm not sure witnessing her homecoming will serve any purpose," I added. "Why not?" Ravana inquired. "As her sister, I'd relish seeing her reaction when she's confronted with her lie. She endured a harrowing battle with cancer," I explained. "We don't fully understand its impact. All we can do is support her and hope for the best," I concluded softly. Maddie and Ravana departed, shaking their heads. I gathered clothes and personal items from the closet, swiftly packing to minimize return trips. Leaving a note for Ramona on the kitchen table, I ensured I had everything I needed to stay away for a while. The following day, I began seeking a divorce lawyer during work breaks, perusing online ads without making any calls. My colleagues assumed I was battling a cold or flu, as I maintained a distant demeanor. Despite Ramona's attempts to contact me, I remained unresponsive, adhering to this routine for 3 consecutive days. Work, return to the motel room, sleep, and repeat. On the 3rd day, Kelly perched on the hood of my car as I exited the building, her eyes brimming with tears, leaving me perplexed. "Why didn't you call me?" she demanded, her voice edged with frustration. I remained silent, meeting her gaze, and the emotional barrier I'd constructed shattered, tears streaming down my face. "Everything you warned me about turned out to be true," I confessed softly. Kelly leaped off the car, enveloping me in a hug. Despite my turmoil, I couldn't ignore the inappropriate surge of arousal as her chest pressed against mine. "I never intended to cause you pain. If you can, please forgive me," she pleaded. Meanwhile, Ramona surveyed her cluttered apartment, her head throbbing with pain. "What day is it?" she groaned. "Brad needs to tidy up this mess when he gets back. Why isn't he home yet? Who's knocking?" Rising from her seat, she limped undressed to the door, peering through the peephole. "Phew, it's just Mom," she muttered, hastily donning a robe and opening the door. "Sorry for the chaos, Mom," she apologized. "Brad seems to vanish into thin air at work," she added. "Ramona, where were you? What were you up to?" Maddie inquired, her tone accusatory. "Or, judging by your appearance, who were you engaging in illicit activities with?" she continued. "Mom, what on earth are you talking about?" Ramona snapped. "Ramona, why do you have hickeys on your neck?" Maddie pressed. "Oh, darn it, Brad better not see this," Ramona muttered. "Mom, could you fetch me some coffee? My head is pounding," she requested. Reluctantly, Maddie retreated to the kitchen to prepare coffee. "So, how did you cover up your deception that night?" Maddie inquired. "What deception?" Mom questioned Ramona. "The falsehoods you told your husband on your birthday," Maddie clarified. "Ramona, when you claimed you were with me and your sister, we were right here beside him at that moment," Maddie reminded her. Ramona's eyes widened. "I need to think of something to say before he returns," she realized. "You have to help me devise a plan, Mom." "Why should I?" Maddie challenged. "Mom, I acknowledge that I made some mistakes," Ramona admitted. "But it was all just for fun. I wanted to experience things I never could when I was younger," she explained. "Back then, I was overweight, Mom. Always the chubby friend, never the desired one," she recounted. "Then I met Brad and everything changed," she continued. "I grew more confident. I started dressing better because to him, I was the attractive one. But to him, I was simply an attractive woman, solely because he loves me. But now that I've shed the weight, I'm attracting the attention of more guys, which is invigorating, she confessed. Now I can flirt with them a bit and discard them whenever I please. Now I have options, and it's exhilarating, she admitted. It's not serious. I would never actually leave Brad because I love him. I'm just having a bit of fun, she assured. But you yourself said, Mom, that he's average and dull, and Brad will never find out anyway, she reasoned. He's always working anyway, she added. He should join the game. Otherwise, he risks losing me, just like now. He ought to be home by now, she concluded. That's probably accurate, Maddie murmured softly. She approached Ramona and handed her the note discovered in the kitchen. Dear Ramona, I'm genuinely happy to see you enjoying yourself. After what you've endured, you deserve it. Beating cancer is a feat few achieve. But you entered the battle and emerged victorious. You didn't just overcome it, you annihilated it. In fact, you've emerged as an even stronger, more radiant individual than before. Right from the start, I recognized your uniqueness and fell deeply in love with you. Now you possess the confidence to step out and reveal to the world just how extraordinary you are and how immense your heart is. You deserve that too. Now I comprehend that there's simply no place for me in your life or your heart. After all, you won my heart long ago, and you deserve to continue moving forward. I hope you receive this note tonight and reach out so we can discuss our next steps, if there are any. If I don't hear from you tonight, I'll assume the worst and proceed with filing for divorce to grant you freedom from me. You can keep the apartment because I still won't be able to return there. There are too many memories. I simply hope your next partner is more deserving of you than I am. I gave it my all, did everything I could for you. Obviously, I fell short somewhere, and you deserve better. I'll always cherish you, Brad. After reading the letter, Ramona collapsed on the floor, sobbing. Maddie glanced at her daughter and reflected, what a foolish daughter I've raised. Across town, Kelly escorted Brad to her home. She circled the car, opening the door and gently tugged his limp arms to help him out. Guiding him to her door, she ushered him inside and settled him onto the sofa. She initiated a conversation with him, recognizing that he had been operating on autopilot for days, merely going through the motions. But now, he had hit rock bottom. Despite his outward appearance, she believed he possessed much greater strength than he realized. I'm going to assist him in breaking free from this deceitful woman. Kelly understood that now wasn't the time to disclose any remaining details about Ramona to him. A detective agency had been monitoring Brad and Ramona for the past week. She knew the precise date and time he had left her, but decided to allow him a few days before confronting him. Ramona had engaged in far more than Brad was aware of, and Kelly wasn't certain if his delicate mental state could withstand it. Leaving Brad seated on the couch, she changed into more comfortable attire and prepared dinner consisting of steaks and salad. While she enjoyed her meal, Brad pushed his food around his plate contemplatively. Throughout the entire meal, neither of them uttered a single word. After dinner, Kelly deliberately turned off Brad's cell phone, ensuring there were no messages yet. This indicated that Ramona was still too intoxicated to realize his absence, which was a positive sign. Kelly then called the hospital, informing them she would be absent for personal reasons, and encouraged Brad to do the same. Despite Brad's reluctance due to financial obligations, Kelly insisted, and eventually he agreed to take 2 days off. Kelly provided him with a blanket and settled him on the couch, embracing him like a child and planting a kiss on his forehead. If you need me, I'm here, she assured him, gesturing toward her bedroom upstairs. Meanwhile, that evening, Ramona attempted to reach Brad's cell phone 20 times, frustrated by his lack of response. She desperately needed to explain herself, emphasizing that she didn't desire a divorce and couldn't bear to live without him. Brad was her pillar of strength, her unwavering support. Despite her recent actions, she maintained that her marriage was paramount. Brad's love had been steadfast, even during her times of struggle when she was overweight and overlooked by others. Recalling their joint battle against cancer, she realized their victory was a collective effort. She reminisced about countless memories with Brad, including the day he shaved his head in solidarity with her. Feeling foolish, she attempted to reach him again, this time calling his workplace. To her surprise, she learned that Brad had taken a couple of days off and had been assigned a new office since his recent promotion. Ramona felt a pang of guilt, realizing that Brad's return might not unfold as she had anticipated. Until then, she had assumed he was simply upset and sulking. She could resolve his anger by simply calling him and asking him to return home. Once he arrived, a brief conversation and closeness would mend everything. She envisioned spending the remainder of their lives together, making amends to him. Reflecting on the past few hours, she realized that her recent indulgence wasn't worth jeopardizing her relationship with Brad. She had initially been level-headed. How had she regressed into the type of foolish girl she had disdained in college? Initially seeking a bit of enjoyment and self-care, she now recognized her lack of control over the situation. Surrendering to the allure of unfamiliar men offered only an illusion of control, at the expense of what she should have reserved for Brad. There was no love involved, only hollow, intoxicated encounters. Now, she was left to ponder the extent of Brad's knowledge and what forgiveness he might require. Conversely, she doubted she could ever forgive herself for her actions. She had become the very thing she despised most. Kelly carefully and gradually assisted Brad. They retrieved his belongings from the hotel and purchased what he needed. At Kelly's urging, they relocated his possessions to a guest room in her home. She encouraged him to speak, initially coaxing out only a few words, but soon engaging in earnest conversation. However, the topic of Ramona remained untouched. As their 2-day respite concluded and both had to resume work, she returned his cell phone to him. Observing silently, she watched as he sifted through his messages. Despite over 100 calls from Ramona, he deleted them all without listening. His jaw clenched, indicating a newfound resolve, and she believed he would eventually be all right. Upon returning to work, Brad felt somewhat improved, though his senses remained unsettled. Some coworkers had noticed Kelly picking him up recently, sparking a wave of gossip. "So, Brad, who was behind the wheel of that red Mustang?" queried his friend Dave. "Brad's got a supermodel by his side," another colleague chimed in. Brad grinned but stayed silent. Undoubtedly, Kelly possessed striking beauty, perhaps even surpassing Ramona's. Did he genuinely believe that? Brad's cheerful demeanor soured when someone insinuated he was having an affair with a mysterious redhead, oblivious to Ramona's infidelity. All seemed well until it was time to depart for home. A security guard barged into Brad's office, urgently summoning him to the parking lot. Brad feared his car had been damaged. He was unprepared for the chaos that awaited. Shrill cries pierced the air before he reached the lot. "What the hell are you doing on my husband's car, you homewrecker?" Ramona's voice echoed. "You abandoned him with your disappearing act," Kelly retorted sharply. "What are you even talking about?" Ramona shot back. "You vanished into drinks and betrayed him," Kelly spat. Guards intervened to keep the women apart, but a crowd had already gathered. Brad approached Kelly, guiding her to the Mustang. He quietly instructed her to head home and assured he would follow shortly. Then, he directed the guards to detain Ramona for at least 10 minutes before driving off after Kelly. As he departed, Brad witnessed Ramona's anguished cries. Despite his deepening love for her, anger now welled within him. "Brad, we need to talk," her voice echoed. "We'll figure it out. You still care for me. I can see it," she insisted. Regrettably, she wasn't entirely wrong. With tears streaming down his face, Brad walked away. Later, at Kelly's residence, Brad was prepared to confront the situation. "What's your plan, Brad?" Kelly inquired. "I suppose I need clarity about my marriage," Brad responded. "Are you certain you want to know?" Kelly questioned. "Absolutely," Brad affirmed. "I'm not so sure," Kelly admitted. Retrieving a large envelope from her office, she placed it on the table. "Everything you need is in here, but I urge you not to open it," she cautioned. "What's inside?" Brad inquired. "When I first came to you about her, you said I lacked proof," Kelly recounted. "And you were correct. Despite what I witnessed, I struggled to accept it. Just like when it happened to me," Kelly confessed. "Anticipating your need for evidence, I arranged for a private investigator to tail her. Fortunately, my cousin owed me a favor, so it didn't cost me a dime. I've stitched it up several times. There's a stack of photos, audio clips, receipts, reports, and even footage. But trust me, if there's any love left for her in your heart, you're better off not seeing this," Kelly advised. "By now you understand the evidence is concrete, confirming her breach of marital vows. Yet viewing it will only inflict more pain," she cautioned. "Once you witness it firsthand, it'll haunt you for a long while," she added. "You're starting to grasp this. I know it'll take time to move on from her, but you're beginning to see reason," she said optimistically. "This file can only drag you back. However, do what you deem necessary," she concluded. "What should we have for dinner?" Kelly inquired, heading toward the kitchen. Brad reached for the folder and extracted the initial photo, a clear depiction of Ramona lying on a table in what seemed to be a bar, her dress hitched up to her waist. Up to this point, There were at least 3 men present. Brad found his split from Ramona excruciating, yet the photograph dealt a devastating blow. He struggled to focus or even breathe, returning the photo to its folder and hurling it across the room. Collapsing onto Kelly's couch, he shut his eyes, feeling her embrace. For the remainder of the night, they sat in silence. The following morning, claiming illness, they visited a divorce attorney Kelly recommended. "I'll aim to expedite this with minimal pain," assured Sherry, Brad's new attorney. "You lack children and own scarce assets, except for her medical expenses. I'll cover those," Brad offered. "Why?" inquired Sherry. "Given your substantial debt due to her," she elaborated, "and her repayment acting in such a manner, well, you know," she added. "Regardless, this should be straightforward. If she contests, we'll threaten to expose the file," Sherry proposed. "The paperwork will be ready within days." Over the ensuing days, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Ramona received the divorce papers and promptly tore them apart. Not only did she refuse to sign or even read them, but she also declined to seek legal counsel. She informed Sherry that she would vehemently contest the divorce and vowed it would never happen. Instead, she proposed a legal separation, suggesting that after a year of mutual agreement, divorce proceedings could commence. In return, she requested marriage counseling and implored Brad to return home to salvage their relationship. Threatening to cite infidelity as grounds for divorce, which could tarnish Ramona's reputation if evidence surfaced, Sherry warned her. Ramona scoffed at the threat, demanding Sherry to devise something substantial. "I've made it clear," she snapped. "I'll stop at nothing to prevent this. If you need to go to Rome and inform the Pope that I'm unfaithful, I'll purchase your plane ticket. But no one, especially you or that redhead, will take my husband without a fight," she declared. She also refused to entertain any alternative proposals until she could speak with Brad. "She's being unreasonable," Sherry later remarked to Brad. "In your shoes, I'd attend the meeting. Refusing to communicate with her could reflect poorly in court." 2 days later, Brad found himself face to face with Ramona in Sherry's office. "Why are you doing this to us?" she inquired. "You brought this upon us, Ramona," he replied calmly. "All right, I may have gotten carried away, drank excessively, and neglected you," she admitted. "I understand why you're upset," she acknowledged. "But that doesn't justify throwing away the 10 years we've spent together," she said earnestly. "I love you, Brad. You have to believe me," Ramona pleaded. "You forget that you lied to me, betrayed my trust, and shattered my heart," Brad countered. "You did things I never imagined you capable of. You didn't consider my feelings at all, Ramona," he added. "It was all about you and your gratification. But Brad, I battled cancer. You can't understand what that's like," she said sadly. "And after overcoming that, I just wanted to experience life for a while," she explained. "After conquering something like that, perspectives and priorities shift," she reasoned. "Ramona, I comprehend your perspective, but you're mistaken," Brad responded. "And now you'll have all the time in the world to explore life to your heart's content. I won't trouble you anymore. You can do whatever you want. You can entertain entire crowds of men every night and nobody will object," Brad declared as he rose and walked away, prompting Ramona to start yelling after him. "Brad, you can't just abandon me. What do you mean I'm mistaken?" Brad reclined in his chair and gestured for Ramona to join him. "Ramona, you didn't have cancer," Brad stated solemnly. "What?" she started, but Brad raised his hand to silence her. "We had cancer," he said, tears welling in his eyes. "I was there every damn day in the hospital," he snapped. "Only it was worse for me. You felt it, but they gave you medicine for the pain," he remarked. "I had to sit there and watch illness devastate the person I loved most, powerless to do anything. But I had to watch. There were times when I felt so guilty that I was ready to do anything," Brad recounted. "If I could take your place, I would," he confessed. "And I could, but I never left you," he assured her. "I had to pretend to be cheerful so that you could maintain hope and good spirits," he disclosed. "But inside, I was dying a little every day, every night. When they forced me to leave you, I went home and cried for hours," he revealed. "I was so afraid of losing you and not spending the rest of our lives together. And then every morning I had to put on a cheerful, confident expression again when it was all over. Having gone through it, as you put it, I was just as ready to explore life and have fun," he stated. "But the person I wanted to have fun with was busy drinking, and apparently other men besides the husband who went through it with her," he recounted while she looked at her feet. "And one of us had to work hard to start paying all your medical expenses," he added. "So you have a new body and a new way of looking at things, and I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You have new priorities and my wife is a cheater. You have a new point of view, but from the side you were looking at, you probably didn't see how you were hurting me, he pointed out. You have to explore life, and I'm heartbroken, Brad said. You claim to love me. How do you think I'll feel when I hear about all the guys you've had involving with? He questioned. I'm sure they're all great guys, Ramona, but where were they when you were in the hospital dying? He asked again. Cancer may not have eliminated your body, but the consequences certainly eliminated our marriage, he said seriously. Maybe it wasn't cancer, but just you, he said quietly. Sign the damn papers, Ramona. I have nothing more to say to you, ever. Brad left the room. Ramona remained seated in a chair for an extended period, tears streaming down her face. Outside the lawyer's office, Kelly observed Brad's difficult meeting and realized he didn't need further exacerbation of his depression. Clearly distressed, Brad wasn't up for conversation or anything else. Approaching Kelly's 2003 Mustang SVT Cobra, she tossed him the keys. Brad cherished this car. Renowned as the Terminator in 2003, it held the title of the fastest production Mustang for quite some time. Drive us home, she said, offering a smile. Eventually, whether she signs the papers or not, your divorce will proceed. Can we just take a little ride? Brad inquired. No, Kelly responded. We have a lifetime ahead for adventures. Right now you're hurting, and I need to get some food into you, she insisted. Parking the car in Kelly's driveway, they exited and entered her home. Brad stole a final glance at the car. Driving it a bit longer would have been enjoyable. Kelly entered the house ahead of him, shedding her coat onto the living room floor. As Brad observed her slow stride across the room, he noticed she had already discarded her coat. Ascending the stairs to her bedroom, Kelly removed her blouse while maintaining eye contact, a smile playing on her lips. Step by step, she shed her shoes, then halfway up her tights, dangling them teasingly. Reaching the top, she dropped her skirt, leaving it behind. Brad marveled at the expanse of her fair skin on display, a realization dawning upon him that he was still alive after weeks of emotional turmoil. Hastily ascending the stairs, he collected his discarded clothes along the way, a reflexive action. Upon reaching the landing, he found Kelly waiting, engaged in an enigmatic feminine ritual. Kelly unfastened her bra, setting free her chest, which seemed to pulse with anticipation. Brad struggled to draw breath as he gazed at her, his thoughts becoming increasingly difficult to collect. Come get me, she beckoned, darting down the corridor. Suddenly, Brad grasped the wisdom of the great American press secretary George Clinton in his iconic creation, Atomic Dog. Why should I be like this? Why should I chase a cat? It all became clear. Brad pursued Kelly to her bedroom, finding her poised on the bed. She knelt before him, methodically disrobing him. Each bared body part received her deliberate attention as their garments accumulated on the floor. As the clothing pile grew, anticipation mounted for the carnal connection awaiting them. Kelly, Brad began, but she silenced him with a gesture. While Ramona embodied softness and submission in closeness, Kelly unleashed wild passion. She engaged fervently, conveying her complete devotion to Brad. She made it known that she was his anytime, anywhere, forever. They explored every conceivable pleasure, and ultimately, Kelly achieved her objective. She redirected Brad's focus from Ramona and the past to herself and their future. Kelly's former husband's infidelity taught her that some men would betray anyone, even a woman as beautiful as herself. Recalling his words when caught for the last time, a woman, no matter how beautifully she is wrapped, becomes stale after a while and you need to find a fresh one. Kelly promptly ended the relationship. She had longed for someone to cherish her, as Brad did Ramona, believing he was the one. With Ramona's loss, Kelly seized her opportunity, vowing to treat Brad with the love and respect he deserved. Weeks later, Ramona remained defiant, refusing to sign the papers and plotting to catch Brad with Kelly to sabotage his divorce petition. She believed this retaliation would restore balance and reunite them as they should have been. However, she hoped it wouldn't be prolonged, yearning for Brad's presence and feeling unwell herself. Nobody seemed to show concern for her anymore. When Brad returned home, he would lift her spirits, make love to her, and attend to household chores to restore her well-being. Above all, he would reignite her sense of importance. Though it might take time, they would overcome this setback. However, one day, she inadvertently spotted Brad and Kelly at a restaurant, observing them through the window. Kelly reached across the table, tenderly caressing Brad's cheek. He reciprocated by holding her hand and planting a kiss on it. Brad didn't follow Ramona's anticipated course of action. He didn't engage in a physical relationship with Kelly as Ramona had with others. It became evident to Ramona that Brad was deeply enamored with Kelly. Realizing what she had forsaken, Ramona unraveled. Bursting into the restaurant, she screamed at Kelly to stay away from her husband, hurling insults.
"You're the one who let him slip away,"
Kelly retorted.
"No, I didn't mean to," Ramona insisted. "I was just seeking amusement. I never intended for him to leave me." "You won't win over my husband," Ramona continued to scream. "He would already be mine if you would just sign those papers." "Not in a million years," Ramona screamed again. "I'll stop you first."
As onlookers observed, Ramona's complexion drained and she grew faint, struggling to remain upright. Eventually, she sank to the floor, declaring she felt unwell. Regaining her composure, she exited the restaurant. 3 months later, Brad and Kelly tied the knot. True to her word, Ramona never signed the divorce papers. Her cancer resurged, and she was readmitted to the hospital. Despite receiving excellent care, the absence of someone by her side to support her in battling the illness made it unbearable. She lost her will to live, spending her hospital days inquiring about Brad or penning letters to him, pleading for forgiveness or simply asking for a visit. Brad offered to see her if she would agree to sign the papers this time. The cancer battle was swift and merciless, with Ramona deteriorating rapidly over a month before passing away. Brad and Kelly attended her funeral. Brad delivered a poignant eulogy, expressing his deep affection for Ramona and reminiscing about their cherished moments together. He chose not to dwell on their separation, focusing instead on the positive aspects of their relationship. In a touching gesture, he revealed to the handful of relatives in attendance that he and Kelly had decided to name their expected child after Ramona. On some evenings, whether lounging by the fireplace or cruising in his 2012 Lacuna 302 Mustang, Brad came to a realization: both he and Ramona had been mistaken. Ramona claimed victory over cancer, leading Brad to believe they had conquered the disease together. However, the truth was that Ramona had only recently been diagnosed with cancer. Upon leaving the hospital, she underwent a drastic transformation. She became loud, angry, and destructive, wreaking havoc on everything and everyone around her, including her marriage, relationship with Brad, and her family. Eventually, when she couldn't achieve her desires, she turned her destructive tendencies inward. As for Brad and Kelly, they lived happily ever after.